The legacy of Dr. King has impacted my life. The entire trajectory of my life was based on the accomplishments that he and other like-minded individuals made to ensure that future generations would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the character of their heart. And because of that, I grew up in Alabama, which we know was one of the states that was the center of the civil rights movement. By the time the legacy reached my generation, I was able to go to a diverse and integrated school system where I went to school with kids of different backgrounds. That was wonderful for me because after elementary, middle, and high school, I also attended a college with a very diverse background.
The legacy of Martin Luther King has impacted my life in so many ways. Not only as a woman, but a woman of color. I was able to serve 10 years in the Army. I attended Payne College, which is a historically black college in Augusta, Georgia. I was able to obtain my master's degree in education. So I am living proof that MLK's dream and legacy is still being manifested. And as anybody would say, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams.
The legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. has affected me in more ways than one. So growing up, I'm not going to tell my age, but growing up, when I was in school, we always heard the MLK speech. We covered it a lot in school. However, me not liking history, history was my least favorite subject. It didn't quite hit me, and it wasn't quite significant for me at the time. But now being a parent and being a working adult and being much older, he has inspired me, his speech inspired me to do all I can to be the best person I can be, as well as to inspire others to be the best person they can be.
So when you're talking about racism and you're talking about the I Have a Dream speech and coming together as a whole, when you look at different people, you have to judge them for who they are, and that was his goal. It's not who this is. The physicality of somebody is nothing. That doesn't tell you who you are as a person. It's how you speak to people, how you treat them, how you act with respect and kindness towards them. Martin Luther King Jr. was expressing a dream and a hope that people get beyond the physicality, get beyond what we actually see when we physically look at a person. When you hear a person, you have to listen not just with your eyes or with your ears. I know you don't listen with your eyes, children, but you do listen with your eyes because that's how you judge when you first see somebody. That's not what it's about. He wants us all to be who we are and to be together.
When I was growing up, I remember that there was many groups of peoples that were not treated equally. When I went to see Martin Luther King Jr. speak, he spoke about these injustices, and he spoke about what we should do to solve this problem. When I arrived in Washington, D.C. to hear him speak, I saw a sea of people in front of me. It was so powerful and overwhelming to see all of these people not only gather together, but gather together peacefully and with a common purpose. As I approached going closer and closer to where Martin Luther King Jr. was speaking, the impact increased as well. It was such an emotional experience for me that all of these years later, it still sends chills.
Martin Luther King stood for peace, prosperity, unity, equity. He was for the people, and he wanted to bring peace in the world. It's up to us to be able to help our students, help this generation be more peaceful with love, generosity, and just treating others how we would like to be treated. And that's what Martin Luther King would want. That's what he wanted when he wrote this speech.
"50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. Not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.